What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm taking a look at Day of the Fight. And I look like I might be ready for Day of the Fight. I got my hood up today. It's a gray hoodie. And I either look like I'm gonna box or be a Unabomber, or one of two things. Uh, but I'm cold. So um, this was presented to me for my consideration, and sort of like in a very independent nature. I don't know if I should always. I'm new to this. I'm sorry. This is like all my. Finally, we agreed that blind film critics can be a thing. So I'm really enjoying this life. And I don't think the Day of the Fight people are going to care that I'm saying this stuff. But I was presented this. It's the same, basically the same people who are running the promo campaign. We're running Horizon, um, and I don't know what's happening with Day of the Fight. I don't know where it's going to release. I don't know why nobody's talking about it, but it kind of had this. It came with this like really sort of like nice heartfelt letter from Jack Houston about like why he made the movie and the choice that he made. He's directed by Jack Houston, by the way, who's an actor. You look him up, IMDb, you'll see his credits. He was sadly he has that Ben-Hur remake on his resume, but he has other things too. So that he's been in. uh he he it talks about why he chose to make this movie, what he wanted to, the kind of story. He's like, we've seen a lot of boxing movies, but we haven't really seen a lot of movies about the boxer. And it's like, I guess, I mean, kind of Rocky, but this kind of feels like Rocky-esque, but not fully. It kind of feels like we've seen so many boxing movies that you could pull this story out, like Raging Bull and stuff like that. But he's right. Like, he really doesn't focus. This isn't on like, this guy is not like trying to like title bout his way, and you're not like every, like there aren't like five fights throughout the film. He's not constantly in training montages. So, I get what he's trying to say here. I don't know that it's never been done before. Kind of feels like that's a broad. We've had a lot of boxing movies. Um and yeah, this one really is sort of about the person and about their life and their choices, and they happen to be a boxer. It's just kind of just like following a guy. And that guy happens to be played by Michael Pitt, who should be in the Best Actor race this year. This is a fantastic performance for Michael Pitt, and he has had the kind of career and performances behind him that should warrant the fact that his name should at least bare minimum be getting mentioned. I mean, this to me is exactly what he's talking about here. He's like, films like Jack Houston and his, like, I don't know, this thing that I got that came along with the film, this like plea to journalists so to watch and screen the movie. I was talking about how it's up to people like me. I, I am vengeance for Day of the Fight. Um, no, but it's like it's up to, and it's true. It's one of the reasons why if you look at my channel, you can make fun of my subscriber list, but I'm a blind film critic with like 336 subscribers, and I review everything because I like film. I like talking about film. I review documentaries. I review streaming titles. I review independent films. People have sent me these independent films I had no idea even existed. I'm just like, yeah, I'll watch it. Whatever. you know? Um, and the big names, they tackle the big titles. They focus on things that are gonna be number one at the box office or headed for best picture. And something like Day of the Fight is a well-made movie that just kind of slides under the radar, unfortunately. And too often we get those films and we discover them later on and we're like, what happened with this movie? What happened with the awards campaign? And it's like, it's not really the awards campaign. It's just, it was kind of an independent film that nobody talked about. So, um, and it's one of the reasons why you see somebody like Frances Fisher, who campaigns hard when she sees an acting performance that she likes in a film that's going nowhere, which is how she got Andrea Riseborough in for To Leslie. That film was going nowhere until she made everyone in Hollywood watch it. And she's doing it again this year for Kate Winslet for Lee, another film that's going nowhere. I wish she'd jump on Day of the Fight. Like, I need somebody to jump on Day of the Fight because Michael Pitt needs to be. The thing is, the Best Actor race, that if basically watch anybody in that fifth place spot is wide open. So, do I think if everybody jumped on Michael Pitt and just ran with it, That he could get in, absolutely. Like, this is the race has not shown up, and he has a career of strong work, and it's obvious to me that this feels to me like it could be like a sleeper thing, that if we jumped on it now and ran with it, we would get sort of like how Paul Mescal's Aftersun like kind of came. I don't want to say it's a full surprise, but a little bit of a surprise um, at the end of Oscar season. So maybe everybody will hear what they had to say and push this through. But it didn't even have a Metacritic score on IMDb. I was like, what? What? So, not that I always reference Metacritic because I check IMDb just like to see who's in the cast and director and stuff like that. But I don't check Rotten Tomatoes. I don't try to let other critics fuel my like or dislike for other movies. So it's possible this film has like a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm pushing it. And that would be a shame because I liked it. I like this film. I think it's a strong performance, and it kept popping up actors who I was like, oh, that'd be great. I was like, man, did you know Steve Buscemi's never been nominated for an Academy Award? Like, that's a fact. That's a true statement. And he popped up here in a supporting actor role, and I was like, God, I really want Steve Buscemi to get an Oscar, like so bad. And I feel like that's such a narrative for anybody here. And this is the easiest movie to campaign. It's like Michael Pitt and Steve Buscemi together again on screen. He's not in that much of a movie, so he would be a supporting performance. But I don't know that he has any less screen time here than like Isabella Rossellini does in Conclave or Anjuna Ellis Taylor does in Nickel Boys. So why not? Like, and by the way, he would have the same narrative as Isabella Rossellini, where people would be going, "We haven't nominated them yet? What? What?" Yeah, it feels like how have we not? So yeah, I wish people would talk about this film. It's just a boxer. It's the story of a boxer, and he's preparing for it's the day of the fight. So we see him going through his routine. He's talking to his like various family and friends. He ruminates on his life, and we learn a little bit about his backstory. He was in jail for a little while, and we learn about why. He talks about his mom and like the loss of his mom and how that sort of affected him. This is his dad. He has this sort of like neat experience. There is a fight, by the way. I didn't need to talk about one huge thing. I haven't even gotten to that yet because I'm so high. I'm high on the film, and the choices that it made. And there is a fight, but it does not feel like the film is dominated by that fight. And it sort of it brings everything full circle because at the beginning of the film he's told that he has an aneurysm. If he fights, you will, it could burst and it could kill him. So, but he's still, is going through this. He finally has like a real shot at a match that he's been training for. And so he works his way up, and we've also got like John Majaro's in here. Joe Pesci shows up. So it's got a really solid supporting cast. And it's all about leading up to the fight. There's a little bit of fight, and then there's a little bit of after the fight. And that's kind of the movie. And it doesn't like, you don't see him training endlessly. He's not hitting the bag, so to speak. Really getting stoked. It doesn't have those scenes where like his trainer is like behind, like, "Are you ready for this? Is your head in the zone?" It doesn't actually follow the same beats. He's right. Like Jack Houston really did try to make a different kind of boxing movie. And I think that's really what I appreciated here. In some ways, I could say the same thing about Fire Inside this year, which does focus a lot on, but even that still falls into some of there's some training montage. There's a little bit more fighting. So it really does feel like he tried to dial back and be like, let's just talk about the boxer. Who is the guy? And you see sort of the humanistic story in movies like The Fighter with David O. Russell. There's that too. in that, but most of that comes from the supporting cast and not necessarily so much from Mark Wahlberg, but more from, you know, the performances of Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and Melissa Leo. So, God, there's a lot of boxing movies to talk about. So, do I think Day of the Fight is necessarily like reinventing the wheel? Maybe not. Do I think it took the wheel and and I don't know, fixed it a little bit, like cleaned it up? Yeah, I think it cleaned it up a little bit. So, it really went back to a let's tell a human story. Let's tell a real story about a real person, which allows Michael Pitt to really shine here. I think it's the best thing he's done in film. uh, Honestly, like it might be. Like I didn't even really recognize that it was Michael Pitt in terms of the voice, and I didn't think Michael. When I think of Michael Pitt, I don't think of boxer. Like in terms of his stance and everything, I think of like kind of the skinny, scrawny kid that was on Boardwalk Empire. So, yeah, I was pretty impressed with his performance. I thought he did really nice work here, and he's a very great he's a very good dramatic actor. So he really handles the heft of those scenes very well. But what I have to say is, thank God this had audio description, because first of all, I love you, whoever's running this campaign, I love you, because so many screeners coming from major studios do not have audio description, and it's like a nightmare, and the apps are hard to navigate, and I don't know how, I don't know what baby Jesus came and touched my phone, but when I played this, it knew to play the audio description. Like it was there. Like it's like either you knew I was blind and needed the audio description, or my phone somehow read the audio description and it just happened. I didn't even have to find it. It just fucking played audio description for me. And it was the most beautiful experience of my life. Just this may not be my favorite movie of 2024. It is my favorite screener of 2024. Like this is my favorite. Like I didn't do anything. I was like, I don't know. Why is it? How does it know I'm blind? Did the people? Do they know I'm? Did the people running the campaign for Day of the Fight know I'm? Because I didn't ask. I didn't have to go back to them and be like, it'd be really nice if I'd love to watch this movie, but I do with so many other people. Whenever I feel like I'm being directly marketed to by a publicist and not like a chain mail, which is some of these studios, it's just like a no reply at blank, you know, it's like one of those things where you're like, nobody's ever going to read this email. I didn't have to go back to anybody. It just fucking gave me audio description. And as a blind film critic, that's what I'm so, oh my God, I want that future to be. That is what I want the future to be, is for accessibility to just come with everything, not just, and I'm not saying that just like to help blind film critics and to, you know, to recognize the fact that there are likely blind and low vision voters in every branch, but just more audio description in general, like the amount of audio described titles. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm here. That's why I have a voice. So I really fucking love this, and I love you so much. Whoever did that, whoever made that happen, thank you, audio description Jesus. Whoever you are, that was the best. It seriously, from the bottom of my heart, like the fact that it happened how it happened too, and I didn't have to search for like settings, audio, you know what I'm saying? Like it just fucking played, and I was like, does it? And I do have accessibility settings on my devices, so it's possible that it just knew, you know, like it just read, which is what it does on Apple devices. It does actually automatically sort of like know with some of the apps, depending on how it reads, to play the audio description if available. It's like one of the settings, but yeah, I actually played it. Just fucking new, and great, love it. Wish it would do that every single time, but sadly, very few and far between. I've like 5% of the screeners that I've gotten have had audio description this year. It's very disappointing, but I thank you. So the audio description, since it's there, and I actually have to talk about it in case we're using this audio description permanently for the rest of the time. I thought it was interesting because clearly the narrator has an accent, which I loved. I couldn't place it. It's like one of those like American regional accents where you're just like, where are you from? Like, where are you from? It's not heavily something, but it was a narrator voice where every once in a while there was like a pronunciation of a word, where I was like, "Oh my god, where are you from?" And I was so interested. But the only thing I would say, like, tip to the writer, is I did feel like when we actually did get to the boxing sequences, that that was really underdescribed, especially comparatively to any other boxing movie. And I know that, like, there's something to be said for, like, you could say, like, well, Jack Houston doesn't want this to be about. I mean, there is a boxing scene, so you still have to describe it. Like, and while I'll say, like, the moment that matters the most is described, um, I did kind of feel like when we were in it, you know, that definitely I've heard better described boxing matches. Let's just say that. I've definitely heard better described boxing matches. Um, but yeah, I'm very appreciative of the existing audio description track for this film. Just kudos. Mad love. It's not gonna I can't let things like that influence my grade. Like give you bonus points for providing accessibility. It feels like the bare minimum in life. You know? Like, thank you for giving me oxygen. Like, thank you for giving me the thing that I need to exist in this world. I'm gonna give you bonus points. Um, but I feel like I feel very seen by whoever put this together. The last thing I have to say is that cover of, I think it was Have You Ever Seen the Rain, was fucking gorgeous. Like, um, I really sometimes, like, I know we can't nominate for best, like, because it's best original song, but there have been sometimes there was the cover that's in I forget the song, but it's in Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare this year. Uh, there's a cover that's in that, and I was just that moment, um, uh, like made the whole movie for me. And when I got to this cover, I was just like, oh my God, why don't we have like a category for best use of music? Because I was just sitting there listening and I was like, God, this is a great cover. this is this girl's killing it on the piano. Like, um, yeah, beautiful voice. I loved the vibe, and it really sort of brought. More people need to watch this movie. That's yeah. Um, for all the reasons in the world. It is actually a different boxing story. I don't know that it completely reinvented the boxing wheel, but it is a different look than most films. It's not a ton of training montages. There's only one fight instead of like five. Michael Pitt gives a career best performance, in my opinion, for him. Really, very much the center focus of this film. The supporting cast is excellent. I would love to see Steve Buscemi at some point get a nomination. If not, just go ahead and give him the honorary Oscar. I don't think he has one yet, but it does feel like something that we have somehow, something's gone wrong, horribly awry, and for him to not. And I thought Joe Pesci was good for the little bit he's used. And yeah, I have nothing negative to really say about the film. I think it's a strong film. The only thing I would say is it doesn't come down to, is it my favorite boxing movie? Of no. Is it my favorite character study of a boxer? No. But is it, do I think everybody should watch this film? Do I think it deserves to have a shot, a title fight, so to speak, for the Oscar chances? I do. Yeah, I think this is one of the better films of the year, for sure. So I'm gonna give Day of the Fight an A-. I really enjoyed the film. And I hope more people watch this because I'd love to see people at least talking about it. So thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.